Hello, I'm in my mum's garden, and I'm in my mum's garden filming on my new 25mm prime lens, which I hope you're enjoying, next to this choice here, which smells lovely, wearing a smock. And I made this smock this week with a great deal of help, so I would like to extend thanks to Perrin for helping with so much of the handiwork on this. If you are not following her socials, if you like wildlife photography or historical costuming, I've popped some links in the description, but this smock has been made for a specific purpose, and that purpose is a Hobbit LARP that I am going to at the end of the summer in September. It's called the Brandywine Festival. You might have seen Abby and Nicole and Morgan went to it last year in the US. It's come to the UK. There's information on that in the description as well. And this smock was made the week that this is going out. This video is coming out the end of the week that this smock was made, and this took a lot of handiwork, took a lot of measuring, a lot of research, and a lot of brain stuff as well. But before we go on to the details of this, I think that it's time that we talked about our incredibly appropriate sponsor for this video, which is World Anvil. World Anvil. Now, World Anvil offers a huge suite of world-building software and tools, so it's aimed for people like GMs, if you like playing D&D or other TTRPGs, if you are a novelist, if you are a fantasy writer, if you just find world building really interesting, like I do, and I have for years. I've enjoyed sort of writing short stories set in fantasy worlds. If that's your sort of thing, World Anvil could be for you, and if you are interested, then you use the code Viking when you follow the link in the description, and you get 51% off any yearly membership with World Anvil. They've got an incredible selection of stuff. They have interactive map tools so that you can take existing maps and edit them into custom maps. You can then put timelines onto those maps so that if there are events in your story world that you need to plot out chronologically and spatially, you can do that. You can put things in space and time into your world. You can create wiki-style articles for characters, events, you can chart plot lines, you can make family trees that are then linked to the maps, you can have all sorts of accessories and tools if you're running a game. So they have interactive GM tools so that you can, decide how many XP points you're giving somebody, pop that in and it all gets done for you on the screen in front of you. They've got loads of useful tools if you want to publish a story, if you want to monetize your story, if you need help organising things whilst you're writing. I know I do. They have writing tools that are really good for that, so you can keep all of your plots, all of your characters, all of your beats all organised. They support more than 106 RPGs, including D&D 5th Ed, of course, and if you need things like spell books, bestiaries, class rundowns, all of that is available basically at the click of a button. So World Anvil is an incredible tool if you are in any way interested in fantasy world building or role playing. So if you are interested in World Anvil, follow the link in the description, use the code Viking, and you get 51%, more than half, off any yearly membership with World Anvil. Go check them out. I decided to make a smock as my costume, like as my main sort of garment for this Hobbit LARP, because I wanted to look kind of countryside-y and pastoral, and we know that hobbits from the books and the films, but we know that Tolkien wanted hobbits to be a kind of 18th, 19th century pre-industrial country folk, right? So he wanted them to have this kind of slightly romantic look to them. They were the romanticised vision of the English countryside that he saw being destroyed in the 20th century. And the archetypal garment for that is the smock, or the smock frock. And this is this is a smock frock, this is what that is, and this is smocking on the front here. And we have plenty of depictions of people wearing smocks. From the 18th century we have paintings of them with very basic gathering at the neck. From the 19th century we have them starting to look a lot more kind of fancy, with embroidery around the chest and down the shoulder straps and on the cuffs. And I didn't want this to be a fancy smock, what they call a Sunday smock, your best smock that you wear to go to church or weddings or christenings or whatever it may be. There are black smocks that were worn for funerals as well. And I decided that I wanted this to be a more practical garment. The original idea of the smock was basically as an overshirt, and you just wear it over your normal clothes. It's a heavyweight linen over smock, overshirt, and it stops your clothes getting mucky if you're farming or gardening or driving a cart or driving cattle to market, whatever you're doing. in the countryside. Your smock stops your clothes getting mucky. That's what I wanted this to be, because this LARP is going to involve me doing stuff, brewing beer or doing some bits and bobs around the camp and that kind of thing. And although Tolkien, as far as I'm aware, if anyone knows different, let me know, does not mention hobbits wearing smocks, Gaffer Gamgee, in the Fellowship of the Ring, in the Green Dragon, is shown very, very briefly wearing what looks like a smock. It looks like it's got gathering at the neck, it looks like a smock. That's enough justification for me. The problem, there are a couple of problems. One is, because of the timeline of getting this video out on time, I had about a week to make this thing. Two, I have never done any smocking before. As far as I'm aware, no one that I know has done any smocking, so this was kind of going from scratch. And that meant research, which is great, because I just happen to have access to Alice Arms's English smocks with instructions for making them. And this is a charming book from the 1930s, and it's got photos of original 19th century smocks in it. It's got instructions for how to actually do smocking with a stem stitch. It's got patterns and cutting patterns. It's even got little Bible paper fold-out embroidery patterns so that you can decorate your smock. And all of the ones in this little book are Sunday smocks, so they're very fancy, and they've got loads of embroidery, like this, all down the shoulder straps and on their big square collars. And you'll notice that the smock that I'm wearing doesn't have a collar at all. Now I have to refold the map. There we go. And that's because this is the most basic kind of smock that we hear about in this book. And that is the reversible smocks. There's no collar on this thing. There's just a neckband. There's not even a neckband, there's just a neckline that's been sewn down into a cross so that I can fit my massive Swede through it. And it's got this gathering that's then been smocked on the front, and there's an identical square on the back. And that means you can wear it frontwards or backwards. You can doesn't matter. You can just throw it on and it's fine. If one side gets worn, turn it around, use the other side. That's what I wanted. I also have Dorothy Burnham's Cut My Coat, which is published by the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto in Canada, and they have a black linen smock worked in white cotton, which is super cool. Again, fairly fancy. So this thing is just a very basic, slightly conjectural smock, because I don't have any pictures of smocks like this, but this is what Alice Arms says is the most basic kind. In France, we have images of smocks with just like a plain boat neck, just a round neck, and you just sort of gather it in there, and it doesn't really have this cartridge pleating with smocking on it. This is very much a kind of British, and in particular English, style of smock that you don't see as much on the continent. But I figured that's what we were going to go for. So the first thing to do with this smock, now that I've figured out what the hell a smock is to get the fabric for it. And I really wanted a heavyweight linen, because traditionally they're made of a heavyweight linen, and then you use an even heavier weight linen thread to do the smocking, but I couldn't find that in time and within budget. So this is a linen viscose mix, and I think it does the job. It looks like an undyed linen as far as anyone's concerned. It's fine. It's held the pleating really nicely, like it held a crease when we gathered it, so it looks fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm not upset in any way. Viscose was available in the 1890s, so it's something that J.R.R. Tolkien would have had available to him as a child. But this is what I had available, and I say this to people a lot. In the comments, people are like, well, I don't have access to this fancy 100% wool that is the recommended thing. Then use what you have available. So, got myself 4 yards of it. Alice Arms said that you should get 3 times the length of your smock. So you get the length of the front, which for me was 48 inches, and then the length of the back, 48 inches, and then another length to do the sleeves and the gussets and the gauze. And I ended up getting 3.5 meters, so I have a shed load left over. I figured I was going to make lots of horrible mistakes, which I actually didn't, except that I accidentally put the smocking on the inside of this cuff. You cannot see it from the outside, you can see it from the inside. That makes me sad. Anyway, got my fabric, measured it all out, and I basically used this book for the measurements. And the measurements in it are pretty simple. Alice Arms rightly says that these things are square cut. These are just geometrically cut in squares. So the front is 36 by 40 inches, I made mine 36 by 48 because I'm taller than a malnourished 1930s farmhand. And so the first thing that I had to do, now that I'd figured out, you know, what a smock is, was get my fabric. And what I really wanted was a heavyweight pure linen, but I couldn't find that within budget and within the time constraints of getting this thing done. So I'm using this, which is an undyed linen viscose mix. It's 60-40 linen and viscose. And that's what I had available. And people are regularly in the comments are like, if I can't find 100% wool, can I use a wool mix to make my LARP or reenactment costume? Yeah, you can. There's no law against it. Use what you have available that's within your budget. I'm not here to gatekeep, here to try and make this stuff more accessible. And I got 3.5 meters, so I've got a shed load of this stuff left over. If you need any linen viscose, let me know. Alice Arms says that you should buy 3 times the length of your smock, so you get enough for the front, enough for the back, and then enough for the front again that you use for the sleeves and the gussets and the gauze and the collar and the shoulder straps. Her pattern is all squares. It's just squares and rectangles, which is great. Makes it really simple. It's like an early medieval tunic. I'm used to that. Hers is 36 by 40 inches. I made mine 36 by 48 inches because I am taller and bulkier than a malnourished 1920s farm labourer. So I did 36 inch wide, 48 inch long, which means that the chest on this thing at the start was 72 inches. The sleeves are 21 inches by 18, and then the cuffs I patterned off some of my own shirt cuffs because she helpfully doesn't put the measurements for those in. She reckons the shoulder strap should be 9 inch by 6 inches, but folded double, so they're effectively like a yoke for your shoulders. I haven't put those on yet because I want to make them, but I want to embroider them with patterns relevant to a gardener, because this book says that the idea of regional embroidery is kind of a myth, and instead what you have is trade-based embroidery. So gardeners would have flowers and leaves, carters would have cartwheels, shepherds have like sprigs and trees and little interesting patterns. So I'm going to have some flowers embroidered on the shoulders of this, but I'm not doing that yet. I'm going to do that kind of as a craft over the summertime. So obviously measuring out is measuring out. Just lay the fabric on the floor, measure it carefully, and then cut the neck hole. The neck hole is dead simple. Effectively, it's like I do with my tunics, my early medieval tunics, where I make a horizontal slit along the length, and then I cut along the width, and then I cut a vertical slit down the length of the fabric. Dead easy, super simple. Just keep widening it ever so slightly until you can fit your head through it. Job's a good one. We have a front and a back. The sleeves are squares. They've got big 7-inch gussets under here, so that you've got plenty of room to manoeuvre. These sleeves are magnificent. Okay. Look how big these sleeves are. Huge sleeves. Look at my sleeve. Check out my sleeve. Then they're gathered quite considerably into the cuff. This is a 10-inch cuff, and this was originally 21 inches, or 18 inches of fabric. So this has been gathered into these beautiful cartridge pleats at the cuff. The next bit is the bit that stressed me, which was the cartridge pleating and the smocking. You do this next. The next thing you do is this, the big square of smocking. And what you have to do, according to Alice Arms, the old smockers and the old makers didn't bother with pencils and drawing dots. They just did it by eye. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. So what I did was made little samples, sample number 1, sample number 2, to try and figure out if I can actually cartridge pleat. Turns out I can. And then on the inside, I made little pencil lines down here to make sure that all of my lines were going to follow the right distance. Then I figured out the ratio of how much fabric goes into this. And I wanted around a sort of 45-inch, 46-inch chest. So I figured out that if I go nipple to nipple, which is... we're playing find the nipple. Which is basically what we got here, right? What I had to do was make each of my little gathering stitches 3/16 of an inch up and 3/16 of an inch down across 18 inches front and back. Okay? To get me this width of smocking, right? So that's what we had to do next, was do all of that measuring, and then I ran stitches, and I ran stitches, and I ran stitches, and I ran stitches, and I ran stitches. And I had 3 o'clock in the morning bedtimes in a row, running all these stitches through here. But then the kind of magic thing happens, and there's this here, it's also at the cuffs, and it's on the shoulders. You can't really see, but it's on the shoulders here as well. There's cartridge pleating there. Now these go undecorated on mine. The ones at the cuffs are going to get some smocking. They've already got a bit of smocking. Then you pull the threads. So all of these horizontal threads here that are running through these cartridge pleats, you pull them. And when you pull them, it magically just sucks all that fabric in. And it's not bulky, and it's not rough, it's not tough, it's quite nice. It doesn't feel like I've got like a load of rumples or anything. But it squishes it all in place. And then what you do is you gather the thread, the end of the threads, around a pin. So you pin it and 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 pin it. It's all held together in place with these pins. Now what we've now got is basically those threads tied off one line of smocking here. And the smocking is a stem stitch, and stem stitch is kind of a cool stitch. Once you get some speed up, you can go relatively quickly and efficiently on it. I've got a double layer at the top of the cuffs, and then a single layer halfway down, and then it's held in place here. On the chest, I've just got a single layer at the top for now. And then I'm deciding what I want to do pattern-wise, because there are all different patterns of smocking. You can have diamonds, you can have chevrons, you can have all sorts of things, and I'm just working out what I want, if anything, on here. I will run one at the bottom and one halfway for sure. And that is kind of it. That's effectively the process of making a smock. You get your fabric, you measure your squares out, and you run them all together. And the sewing on all the big long seams, like the sewing on the hem and the side, this is all just a running stitch or a running back stitch, effectively. And that is, again, what Alice Arms says that she sees in most of the originals. This was written in the 1920s, it was published in 1930, and if the special Sunday smocks are put together with a relatively simple selection of stitches, that suggested to me that the actual working smocks were as well. So I'm pretty happy that this is a fairly authentic, old-school country person smock. Like, it's not mega embroidered, it's not particularly fancy or anything like that, but it's a pretty damn good representation of, I think, what many rural working people were wearing for a couple of 100 years. And what I don't want is for this to look too nice to wear, right? Like, some of the smocks in these books, some of the ones you see online, they look too nice to wear out in the fields or in the gardens. A lot of the photos you see posed from the 30s, 40s, even the late Victorian photos, it's obvious that some of those people do not wear those smocks to work and are quite uncomfortable wearing them whilst holding a pitchfork. Like, they're posed and it's awkward. Yeah, I wanted to avoid that kind of... obviously this is romanticism because this is Tolkien's vision of the English countryside, but I wanted to avoid that sort of Victorian, like, tweeification of it. I didn't want it to become an over-embroidered postcard version of a smock. I want this to be a working-class garment. And I didn't want that. I wanted this to just become something that I wore. I wanted this to be something that Sam Gamgee might just throw on over his waistcoat to get the gardening done, and then throw off over his head before he goes to the Green Dragon for a couple of halves. Like, that's what I want this to be, and I'm pretty happy with this. I hope you guys think it as well. I hope you think that this looks pretty good. I think that you... I hope that you share what you think. I don't like the neck. I think I've made a mistake with the neck. I think the neck should be a little flatter. I think it should be more like kind of that. You get to see that I'm just wearing a t-shirt under this, but I think it's maybe more like that, right? But that's fine. This can be fixed up. But I think this is quite a Hobbity thing to wear. So if any of you guys are coming to the Brandywine Festival in September, do let me know. Come and say hi. Obviously, a few other people are going as well. I know Bernadette's going to be there. I think Morgan's going to be there again, which is fantastic. She's coming over for it. But yeah, this is my Hobbity smock. I hope that you like my Hobbity smock. I did not enjoy making my Hobbity smock because it was very stressful and I was very tired for most of it. But I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks quite satisfyingly authentic, right? Like it just looks like a big kind of gathered tent. I like my tent. I enjoy my tent. This choice here looks nice. Look at this choice here. I love a choice here. Some people don't like the smell. I do. But yeah, there we go. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have done any smocking, if you've got any opinions on what sort of pattern I should have for my smocking on here, let me know. Tell me what you think I should have. Should I have the diamonds? Should I have just chevrons? Should I have little baskets? What do you think I should have for my smocking on my chest and on my back? Should it be the same on the front and the back? Because I could do a different one on the front and on the back, couldn't I? So let me know what you think. If you think that it would be nice for me to have contrasting embroidery, not embroidery, but, you know, smocking patterns on the front and on the back, let me know. But yeah, diolch yn fawr iawn am wylio. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. And tan o tro nesa, till the next time, hwyl am y tro. Bye-bye for now.
Big, manly, horny, helmeted Viking thanks to my patrons for making this video possible. Ho, 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 ho. Look at them all. You are all wonderful human beings. Masculine Viking thanks to you all. Ho, 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 ho. Yes. Yes. Delicious names.